Hello beautiful, thank you for joining me here today. If you spend time on my other YouTube channel, then you'll know that last week I presented a packing video for my adventures in Europe. In real life, I've already come back, and there will be other content over on that channel about those travels soon. But in the meantime, I want to chat here today about how I pack in an intentional way, because traveling light is easier. I've traveled in all sorts of ways. I've traveled on my own, with friends, with boyfriends. I've traveled cheap. I've traveled expensive. And no matter what, if you are traveling Europe this summer, at some point, you will have to walk up or down a staircase. There will be cobbled streets. So no matter what your circumstances, packing light to travel Europe in summer is the best way to go. Also, thinking about what you are going to wear before you reach your destination will not only get you excited for the travel itself, but it will make the experience more enjoyable. I used to just throw some things in a bag, not think about it too much, and I know many of you do the same. And that's the best way to make yourself feel underdressed, bored with what you have, frustrated, and potentially waste your time shopping during your travels rather than living in the moment. So to make sure I have the best trip, this is how I pack and how I would advise you to pack. Before anything else, you need to establish what you are packing in. I never bring more than a carry-on when I travel internationally, but even if you are traveling light, you still want to consider size, especially if you are flying budget. They're not messing around with those suitcase measurements. Generally, a modern sized carry-on or the smaller version, the under seat bag, are a great solution until you get to the staircases or the cobbled streets. The other option are backpacks and side bags. Look, backpacks, let's be real, are probably the most practical thing you can travel with, the most comfortable thing to travel with, but I personally cannot do that because I want to feel luxurious when I travel, and a backpack does not feel luxurious to me. My solution in the past has been a small-ish carry bag that I can put on my shoulder. That can work, but you need to be careful about how full you make it. And also something to consider, if you know that there will be strips of walking involved in your travels, you might want to have another bag on the other side to balance things out somewhat. The second thing you need to do is think of a theme. Before you choose the clothes that you want to bring, you have to consider the obvious logistical matters such as weather and what you'll be doing with your time. But I would take it a step further. I would think about the mood that you want to feel while you are traveling. I did this on my last trip and it made such a difference to my travel experience, having packed things of a certain mood. Now, being able to decide that comes down to knowing your values and how you want to experience your travel. But you would be surprised at how much of your experience you can curate through the selection of wardrobe pieces alone. Now, if you want to know more details about the mood I was going for, of course you are welcome to watch my packing video on my other channel. It is live right now. So it's very important to have an understanding of the typical weather of the destination you are heading towards. But I would also always have a just in case warmer and cooler layer, something that can cover you for unpredictably warm or unpredictably cool weather. Because let me tell you, on this last trip, I went to Europe in early May. When I was there, the weather was unseasonably cold. One of the days I got caught in a hailstorm, and then just a few days after I returned to Australia, there was unseasonably warm weather. There was a crazy heat wave. Unless you live in a country, you cannot fully predict what the experience of the weather is like. Now, when you are considering the warmer and lighter layers, build them into your capsule wardrobe. Don't just leave them as an afterthought. Consider them from the beginning, so they seamlessly fit into your travel capsule should you have underestimated or overestimated the weather. Okay, now we're finally up to the point where we can start making some choices. Begin by choosing some core pieces. Select 3 to maybe 5 pieces that reflect either whatever you're excited about in terms of getting dressed right now, or that represent the mood that you are going for. Once you have these core pieces, that's when you can build the rest of your little travel capsule, and you're basically building the rest of it around those core pieces. So what's going to work with those core pieces? Everything else you pack is a reference to those key pieces. Every item that you select needs to work with those pieces or potentially layer with those pieces. And if you are not sure, try everything on. Try all the combinations on to see if you are realistically happy with the little capsule that you have. Now, as for the number of items, there is no right or wrong number of things to bring, but I find that if I pack in a small carry-on, the maximum number of items I can bring is 11 to 12 clothing pieces, and that usually includes some sort of a warm layer because I get very cold on the plane. So regardless of the weather on the land, I will need something warm and puffy. I usually have about 3 pairs of shoes and 2 handbags. As a side note, there is this little popular trend right now called the 3x3 packing method or the Sudoku packing method, which is a specific way of laying out your clothes before you pack them. It's all arranged around the shape of a cube or a Sudoku template. The reason they call it the Sudoku method is because all of the pieces need to work with each other on all the lines, on all the angles. 3 tops, 3 bottoms, and 3 layers. The whole concept is about teaching you the thing that is already instinctual to me and perhaps other people who have capsule wardrobes, which is just simply that you think about how all the pieces work together. So if you are someone who all this stuff that I'm talking about, it's not instinctive to you, you might actually benefit from watching some content about the Sudoku method or reading up about it, or just even maybe laying out your clothes in that 3x3 so that you can see how all the items correspond with each other. Consider how you are going to care for the items. Getting your things washed in European hotels is surprisingly expensive. Not only that, but all my things are very precious to me, so I would be very concerned about allowing someone else to launder them for me. All of the tops that I bring are things that I can easily wash in a sink in a hotel with hand soap, basically. I mean, I don't even carry laundry liquid, but that might be a hack for you if you are someone who knows you're going to do this. Hand soap is usually fine, it does the job. The other thing that I would suggest is thinking about this and building it into your itinerary. If I'm doing a 2-week trip, somewhere in the middle, I like to get like either an Airbnb for a night or 2, or like one of those apartment hotels, the hotels that have a little apartment, like a studio apartment that has all the basics that you need to live with. Obviously, you make sure they have a washing machine, that's the whole point, and just do one proper laundry yourself halfway through the trip. Accessories. If you are like me and you have a very neutral wardrobe, or for the purposes of travel, you only bring neutral things because that makes a lot of sense, because they will mix and match most easily, then you want to bring an accessory or 2 that's very exciting to you, whether it's some sort of a colorful patterned scarf. I always bring a patterned silk scarf when I travel. Maybe it's an exciting piece of jewelry or an exciting belt. I would recommend bringing something that's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more inspiring, because when you're wearing the same 10, 11 things day in, day out, they get boring pretty fast. Okay, in terms of shoes, you always want to bring one tried and tested pair of walking shoes. Now, if you are buying a new pair of shoes for travel, what I would do is make sure that you buy them a couple weeks before you go at least, and you need to take those out for practice walks, and you want to test how far you can walk in them comfortably. Realistically, you probably want to do a few practice walks of a few kilometers each, because you would be surprised at how quickly the steps stack up when you are traveling. But there's nothing worse than having uncomfortable shoes while you travel. This has happened to me before, and honestly, it just became such a plague because it limited my mobility so much. The second pair of shoes that you should bring should be an alternative to your first pair of shoes. So if something happens to your first pair of shoes, or they become uncomfortable, you get a blister somewhere weird, you need to have a second pair for just in case. This second pair can be maybe like a pair of closed-in sandals. That's what I like to do, so it's still comfortable and still practical, but you know, maybe it's a slightly different, so you're not just bringing 2 pairs of sneakers. That's really boring. Oh, and I forgot to mention, my favorite travel shoe for Europe in summer is always a white leather sneaker. That's the most versatile kind of shoe, I think, for European travels. It's got the right mood, it has a nice sort of neutral look about it, and you can make it look dressy, easy to wipe down, or if it rains in an emergency, you're covered for all those circumstances. And the third pair of shoes would be some sort of a dressy shoe. Now, obviously, if you are a person who likes to wear heels, you will do that, but just keep in mind that will take up space in your luggage. But for me personally, I am not much of a heel person anyway. I'm not too bothered about wearing heels when I travel. The third pair of shoes that I usually bring is like a little bougie pair of luxury ballet flats, something that packs really light and quite flat and quite small, but that just feels fancy. And the final thing I would consider with shoes is that one of them can double as a kind of slipper. I come from a Slavic background. We don't wear shoes inside. We also don't walk around barefoot inside. I am allergic to walking around barefoot in my house. Doesn't matter how often I vacuum. I would never do it in a hotel room either. So I usually make sure that one of the pairs of shoes that I bring is like a pair of sandals or flip-flops or something like this that can double as a pair of slippers in the hotel room if bougie hotel slippers are not available. And my final tip to you is always, always, always do a mock pack. And if you hear anyone else using that expression, you know they've been inspired by me, because I know for a fact I made that expression up 20 years ago. A mock pack is kind of like a mock exam. You do a pretend pack. So what you do is you pack your whole suitcase with all the things that you want to bring, and you want to do it ideally probably about a week before you go, because that gives you time to reassess and to think about what else you want to bring, or whether, you know, if you've been unrealistic about how much you can fit in, what to change. It gives you time to maybe, like if one of your pairs of shoes is too chunky and you're like, oh, this is the weakest link, it gives you time to go find something different to purchase. So it just gives you lots and lots of options. The mock pack is essential. Preparation is key. Never ever leave packing until last minute. That's it. Happy travels, my darling. Stay safe. I'm so jealous. Can I come with you? If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It makes almost no difference to you whether you subscribe or not, and all the difference to me. It really helps out, and I much appreciate those of you who have already subscribed. It makes such a difference. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing me your loyalty. Loyalty, unfortunately, is hard to come by in 2026, so it's something I very much value. Here are the 4 places you can find me if you do like my vibe. Here, where I do tips and tricks, dot points and reviews. My other channel, where the videos are longer, a little bit more vloggy, a little bit more ASMR-y. Patreon, where I publish new videos every single week about a topic that I'm obsessed with. Usually something to do with wardrobe or energy talk, manifestation, all that sort of stuff. And finally, of course, you can find me with every other basic bee on the Instagram, where you can see my outfits and my stories of the adventures that I'm on in real time. Thank you so much for following along. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye.